Welcome to yet another episode of Lowdown. On this episode, we take you over to Gypsy Grace and the Vintage Goat. We meet up with a violinist, learn all about the ICCAs, and of course, what's Lowdown without a few bands? Stay tuned for all of this and more on this episode of Lowdown. Hey everyone, I'm Riley.
And I'm Kelly. Riley, this is episode 3, which means we're already halfway done with this season of Lowdown.
Wow, time has sure been flying by, and I never want it to end.
Well, luckily, we've still got plenty of time to show you all the best musicians and artists Akron has to offer, and this episode is no exception.
I met up with Dani Green, a violinist from New York, and she is beyond incredible.
Let's take a look.
I'm Dani Green. I am a music performance major here at the University of Akron, and I also have a Spanish minor. My instrument is the violin, although I also sing. I started playing violin around 3 or 4, so I don't really remember my beginnings. But I obviously at that point, there wasn't much of a choice in me choosing the violin. I think the story is that my mom came home one day and I was like working on like the little plastic beading necklaces or whatever, and she just saw me sitting there and she's like, wow, that's a lot of concentration for a young child. She would make a really good violinist. And obviously there are other books involved about music being good for kids or whatever, but that's the story of how I started. My favorite part about playing the violin isn't necessarily the act of playing the instrument itself, but what I can express through what I play, and the ability it gives me to connect with other people, whether they're in the audience or I'm actually performing with them. I think one of my favorite parts about music is just being able to perform with others, and even if you're playing different parts, you're all contributing to the same thing. And in that way, you kind of just create a connection that goes beyond words through what you're expressing, and that's just one of the coolest things to me, and it's something I live for, and I try to get to have that opportunity whenever I can. My future plans in general are I'm gonna finish my undergrad here, and then I plan to go on to get a master's degree, maybe some diplomas or certificates or something, and the end goal is to get a doctorate of musical arts, or a DMA. And after that, I would really love to become a professor in university and teach upper collegiate levels or even high school levels, people that I can work one-on-one with and really create a connection with. And then a dream performing job would be to perform in a chamber ensemble, either in residence somewhere or touring around the world and being able to see different places and meet a whole lot of new people, or join some major orchestra and perform with them.
I already asked her if she would play at my wedding. You know, whenever I find a boyfriend.
Do you hear that, Riley? It's me playing a song on the world's smallest violin for you. I love the violin, anyway, and it's just one of those instruments that gives me chills whenever I hear it.
The International Championship of Collegiate Acapella was one of the coolest things I've ever been a part of.
And next up, Sarah chats with Megan, the director of Rhythm and Ruse, who will be moving on to the semifinals of the competition.
Hi, I'm Megan Calderon, and I'm the music director of Rhythm and Ruse, the co-ed a cappella group on campus that just won second place at the ICCA's quarterfinals. All 3 of our songs were arranged by people in the group, which is really cool, because, you know, some groups, like, they just go and, like, find music or something, but, like, we had people in our group arrange for our group, so it was super cool to get to do that. The opener was a mashup, which is kind of like a mix between 2 songs, Radioactive by Imagine Dragons and Wide Awake by Katy Perry. And then we went into our ballad, which was a really great arrangement of Fix You by Coldplay, and our soloist on that was actually, his name's David, and he got Best Soloist of the Evening. He got that award for singing the solo for Fix You, and that was just super cool. It's just this big emotional power ballad of like, everything's gonna be alright, you know, And so it was really, and the song itself means a lot to the group. So it was just really cool to like get to sing such an emotional, you know, great song that we're all really attached to. And then we ended with Green Eyes and a Heart of Gold, and it's by the Lone Bellow. It's kind of a more alternative pop, indie-ish group. I had never heard of the song. It's just like everything's alright, everything's good. And that was a great opportunity for us to kind of just close out our set with just being happy and having fun with each other on stage. Right before we went on to perform, I had the group like kind of stand in a circle and we just sang through our set. And like now see, for performing in ICCAs, you also have like staging and blocking, so like people have specific places to stand on stage and there's a little bit of choreography in there, you know. But I just had the group stand in a circle and we just sang. And, you know, and I told everybody, you can't look at the ground, like look at each other, because this is our last time running through it before we go and put this on stage. And so it was just really cool to kind of just get in the zone with each other, you know, everybody's looking at each other because we're in a circle, we're all on the same level, and we're all just like really putting our everything into this music, like for each other. It was just probably one of the coolest things I've ever experienced. It was amazing. So that was probably my favorite part of the entire day. Probably more so than even finding out winning, because like before we went on stage, so we did that, and you know, so after like singing through our whole set in a circle, like we knew like we're in this together and we're about to do awesome, and you know, whatever happens happens, but like we're ready, you know. And so that was just an amazing feeling. It's been awesome to get to like achieve so much just by like working hard and working smart and working together, and to see that actually go into action, it's been pretty cool.
You know, that looks like a lot of fun and reminds me how awful I am at singing. Probably never gonna sing out loud ever again.
How about at the next commercial break, I give you some pointers?
You know, that would be great. I don't want to wait that long. Can we just take a break right now?
Okay, I suppose so. Stick around for more Lowdown greatness and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Lowdown.
One of my favorite places for live music is Jilly's Music Room, and Emily takes us there now for an interview with Ryan Humbert.
Let's check it out.
Worked at a local radio station here in Akron, and Emily was actually my intern at the radio station, and that's how we met. And I told her I sing a little bit, and she said, well, I sing a little bit too. I'm definitely influenced by all sorts of music, everything from country to rock to bluegrass to gosh, all of it. And so a little bit of that I think kind of ends up seeping into what we do. And so I like to just refer to it as Americana pop. I think that's
a little bit country, a little bit rock and roll.
And I also have a new side project as well, where we're doing nothing but classic and vintage honky-tonk country to kind of show that there is still a love for that music. And we're having the time of our lives doing it, and so, you know, kind of whatever strikes me at the time is kind of what we follow with. And you know, I've had a lot of fun over the last 12 years doing the Ryan Humbert Band, and having a lot of fun now with the country band called Shooter Sharp and the Shootouts. And so it keeps us busy, and we can go out there and keep it fresh for people that are listening too. When we make the records that we've made in Nashville, we've made those records, we've had the opportunity to work with such amazing musicians, and people that have played with Bob Dylan and Sheryl Crow and the Counting Crows and the Dixie Chicks and the Black Crowes, and I mean just all sorts of people. And these guys, they really know what they're doing, and so it kind of makes you rise to the occasion. You know, you definitely have to bring your A game when you're working with people that bring theirs, and they're used to bringing it on a daily basis in the studio. And so I definitely think that's been a blast, is getting to know some of these musicians that we've played with.
I think one of my favorite experiences was the record that we actually recorded to tape. So a lot of stuff is digital now. You can do a few takes and kind of pick your favorite one, but when you record to tape, it's one take. And if you don't like it and you redo it, you better hope you do it better next time. So that was a really cool experience and really challenging, I think, for us in a different way.
I mean, I think that when it comes to you know, being a band or being a musician nowadays, there's so much more to it than just knowing how to be a good singer or be a great guitar player or anything like that. Like, you know, nowadays with the internet as it is, I mean, you have to kind of be the whole package. You have to, you know, look the part. You have to know what you're doing. You have to be able to market yourself, and you have to be able to kind of make all those connections. If there isn't a day that goes by that I'm not either listening to music, thinking about music, writing music, getting ready to perform music, I mean, and I think, you know, it's if it's what you want to do, you have to have that mindset, and you know, and it's like any other job too. There's days when you get to a show and you're like, you know, man, I'd rather be home right now, and then you get on stage and things change. You know, it's that excitement of being up there and performing music and hopefully reaching out to people through it is something that doesn't get old. I think the more that you put yourself out there in that sense, the more things will come to you as well. So
You gotta do it because you love it. If
Yeah.
you're in it for the money or the fame
Yeah.
or whatever, you can't count on it.
Yeah.
But
If
know,
you don't
work
love it,
hard,
yeah.
be kind, make friends.
yeah.
Man, he sure is talented, and that's a super cool venue.
You know, I've actually never been there before, but after seeing that, I might have to go check it out.
Yes, definitely. You know, Kelly, there's nothing I like better than getting good use out of stuff, you know?
Yeah, I mean, as a poor college student, I agree with you 100%.
There's a place in downtown Akron that has just that. It's called Gypsy Grace and the Vintage Goat, and it's pretty neat. Let's watch.
My name is Joe Scheibe. I'm half owner of Gypsy Grace and the Vintage Goat. We try to find vintage or old items out. You know, we go out looking for them in either barns or any. You know, people bring us things that are located in the basement or have different items that we bring into the store, and we try to turn them into something else. We try to maybe like repurpose or just put new life back into them so they can go back out again and be useful. Angel and I throwing back and forth ideas. Grace is Angel's middle name. She really likes Gypsy, so it kind of evolved into Gypsy Grace. Vintage Goat, I like the word vintage. Goat came from building another motorcycle. It's called Chupacabra, which is a mythical creature that's like, it actually kills goats and sucks their blood out. I just think it's funny. By the naming of the motorcycle and goat and gypsies, every picture of gypsies you usually see a goat with them. It's just kind of funny. We put it together, Gypsy Grace and the Vintage Goat.
So I am Angel Grace, co-owner of Gypsy Grace and the Vintage Goat. You get something in and you think it's really cool, and then you start bouncing back ideas on what it could be. So it's really just whatever comes through the door. A lot of our stuff literally comes through the door from people tearing down homes and cleaning out. So we haven't had to go do much finding since we've been here. This spring or summer, we would love to do like a gypsy caravan down the alley and have local vendors and musicians and artists lining the alley and just have a huge event for that. That's probably one of our biggest things. And then the basement, we want to open up into a gallery that will be more of a limited time frames that would be open. So that's the big future for now.
Very cool. There's nothing worse than dropping a bunch of money on something brand new only to be disappointed with it. They've got the right idea.
So there's this new band called Remember Tomorrow. Kelly, you met up with them, right?
Yeah, I did. And even though they've only been together for a few months, this group is going to be playing in Akron's Got Talent pretty soon. Let's see what they had to say.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm Josh.
I'm Joey.
I'm I'm Taylor.
And Michael.
And we are Remember Tomorrow.
And focusing on the Akron's Got Talent right now, and then the goal is to ultimately start playing stuff.
One of my fraternity brothers said, hey, they're doing Akron's Got Talent again this year, so I said, awesome, I think we should try to get the band in it. So Taylor and I, we went through and we picked out a song, and we've just been kind of working with it for the last couple of weeks. So hoping it'll be 100% down by next Thursday. So
The goal is to win, but
yeah,
ultimately just playing out fun.
yeah, I feel like if we win that and get the prize money, it really helps out.
Get a mic.
Thanks, yeah.
Get a mic so he's not screaming the entire time.
Yeah, we just go from there.
We're more of a harder rock band, but it's not too hard where it's gonna scare your kids. I mean, we all like rock, and then we all like different forms of it.
Yeah, I think the diversity is really beneficial because, like you're saying, we all have different things we pull from and different influences to where, that would make a band's identity to where it's individualistic and unique.
Well, you would think it'd work better if we all liked the same exact thing, but at that point, then it almost opens us up to more arguments and more disagreements because we all like the same thing. That's limiting us, but when we all like different things, we can piece together different parts, and that makes us much better than if we all like the same thing.
You knew that those are for months now.
I didn't know that.
I told you that like 3 weeks ago. You said, "Dude, that's awesome."
I don't think that's how that went, but okay.
Best of luck to them in Akron's Got Talent. That's so cool.
Well, Riley, it's time for one more commercial break, but we'll be right back.
Something we don't see very often on Lowdown is theater, but we're lucky enough that our member Anthony wanted to change that up.
He sat in with the director of Hedda Gabler, a play recently put on by Akron's very own theater department.
Sounds so interesting. Let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Jim Sloviak, professor of theater at the University of Akron and director of Hedda Gabler.
Ha! And turn the other way. And out your back. Ha! Ha! Without gripping in the back of the neck, face forward. Ha! Ha!
The approach in rehearsal and with the actors is always going to be dependent on the play and the kind of play it is. This is more of a classic, modern, realistic drama. So I think we've dealt much more with realistic acting technique and also working with just finding detail and variety within those kinds of techniques. It doesn't behave in any way like a realistic play. The space is the interior of Hedda Gabler's mind, and so we're seeing the kind of cage that she is trapped inside. Our space does change because it is the interior of the mind. So we see the perspective changing. We see the elements inside this cage changing as Hedda's process goes on through the play. Hedda is a woman who, unfortunately, in her world, in her society, doesn't have control of her own body. Men are trying to force themselves on her. Men are trying to force her to behave in terms of their idea of how a woman should behave. Men are trying to make her be who they want her to be. That's the world that we're trying to create here. That was Ibsen's world and that still is the world today.
It looks like it would be a lot of fun to work on that production.
So much awesomeness in one show, but we're down to our last segment.
How does the show always go by this quickly? What's up next, Riley?
Taylor caught Andy on campus strumming his guitar and was able to get a quick interview.
Maybe only other musicians will get this, but sometimes when you're holding an instrument, you're just playing and you just string chords together, you string melodies together, and you kind of just, you get so into it. You ever see a musician on stage, man, he's like rocking back and forth, and I feel that. Like, it's just comforting, you know? There's a whole science based around how like sound affects your emotions and stuff, why we listen to music, and I think I understand, and if you're a musician, you probably understand as well. I'm Andy Hillier. I play acoustic guitar. I was classically trained on the upright bass, but now I just mostly play this because it's pick up and play. I'm a pretty busy student. I'm 6th-year senior here at the University of Akron, so I usually have a lot going on. Acoustic guitar is like a nice instrument because you can just pick up and play. Sometimes I play local house shows, but not often because I just generally don't have a lot of time. But I've been writing my own music for the past year now. And pretty soon I'm going to be releasing the first EP under a project called The Anxiety Demographic. Anxiety Demographic is a project that I'm starting up. It's a solo art project under which I release like several like songs, music, and I want to, in every song, collaborate with one of my friends. I have a lot of friends who are musicians and put together like great compositions. A lot of it eventually based off of guitar looping, so like hooking my guitar, playing a line, having it repeat, and playing over it, and then having people who play piano, cello, otherwise like play also for like input on top of the song, kind of like make it cohesive. I'm kind of like into jam sessions and stuff, so it's probably not going to be as straightforward as much as melodic, you know, just kind of playing what sounds good at the time. I haven't really written much as far as lyrics yet, but I do like to do slam poetry and things along those lines, so I'm hoping that eventually I'll be able to integrate that into my songs as well. Music to me is, it's a hobby first and foremost. It's not like something I want to make a career out of, but it is something that I enjoy and is close to me. It's something I've always had. It's an outlet to kind of just take my mind off of things, you know?
You know, I think I've seen him around campus before. There's just so much talent around here.
There sure is, Kelly, but unfortunately, this talent is about out of time.
You mean just you, or?
Both of us.
Okay, good. Just making sure. Before we go, I just want to remind you to check us out on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ZTV Lowdown.
And from all of us here at Lowdown, stay classy, Akron.
This program was produced by ZTV at the University of Akron. To find out how you can make Emmy-winning media, visit the UA School of Communication online. ZTV. Make media. Make a difference.